All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Stratford Warriors Report. Well, we got a split from last weekend, the crossover weekend, and win at home on Friday night, a 1-0 victory, and then a 3-2 loss on the road. Tough one. They've ran into some tough goalies in the last couple games. Before we get to our guests, I just want to upcoming games. This Friday night, the Battle of Perth County. I know Listowel is only 1-6-1, but they always play tough against each other. It should be a really good hockey game. Come on down to the William Allman Memorial Arena. Let's get some more people in the crowd. We had a good crowd, almost 900 people last Friday night with the Hamilton Kilty Bees in town. And then Sunday evening, Thanksgiving Sunday. I don't know if we have anything to give thanks for having to go back down to Chatham, my personal house of horrors, but we'll see. All right, let's get on with this show. Joining me tonight, Director of Hockey Operations for the Stratford Hunter Steel Warriors, Mr. Jason Clarke. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, Les. How are you doing? Glad to be on.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Jason wanted a third screen if we got on late to watch the ball game. Big Jays game on tonight. They still got to win game. They still got to win game 3. It's like anything else.
The last
wins the hardest
for
one,
granted.
right? That's right.
Oh yeah, it'll be a tough crowd, tough building to play in there tonight. We'll see what they can do.
And also joining us, the executive producer and founder of 519 Sports Online, Darren Stevenson. Darren, thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Les.
I had one of your best guys, Dylan Baker, on earlier in the year.
Dylan does a great job for 519, and he's been amazing with the Guelph Storm so far, doing the work that he's doing. But I'll tell you, Les, we're super happy that Dylan's still doing work with 519, and looking forward to a fun season ahead. It's been a pretty good start. We've been busy, lots going on, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to come this year.
Yeah, we're going to get into your story in a little bit. I just want to start. I've started it off like this on the podcast, the OHL Development League. What are your thoughts on that, Darren?
I think it's great. I think it further sort of solidifies the relationship between the Ontario Hockey League and obviously our league. One of the things that I've really liked in the first couple of weeks is the OHL doing a prospect of the week. It was Alex Forrest this past week, and then he scored an unbelievable between the legs goal for the Cambridge Redhawks on Saturday night. The week before, it was Brendan Gerber. So any publicity, any promotion, any synergy, I think, between the OHL and our league, the Greater Ontario Hockey League, I think is a good thing. I think it's good for the players, and that's the most important thing. This is about providing the players with a spotlight and helping develop them to get them onto whatever their next opportunity is. And I think that this relationship with the OHL is certainly going to help that. We've seen that in Stratford. Obviously, Carson Harmer is a player that comes to mind right away. He scored some big goals in that playoff run a couple of years ago. And yeah, we're going to continue to see players that kind of evolve in our league and move on to higher opportunities. And I think that's really what it's all about. And I think between, the people at the OHL and obviously the hard work of Craig Spade and Tim Simmons to put this together, I think it's mutually beneficial. And I think anytime you have something like that, Les, I think it's a pretty good thing.
All right. And Jason, what are your thoughts?
I don't know if I could say it any better than Darren, but it's
so everybody knows Darren does also work for the league.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. You know what? It's a fantastic deal and a great relationship builder for our league and the OHL. I think to Darren's point, we've had a lot of success with moving guys up and down from our league, and specifically in Stratford, we've had a lot of great players come through our program and have great careers in the OHL. And I think we're lucky with our footprint. Right, we're right in the footprint of the OHL, and it's easy for guys to move up and down between the teams, and it allows our guys to know, with the changes last year in the NCAA and OHL becoming, the premier pathway now, I would suggest to get to the NCAA. They can place their players in our league, and our guys can stay at home and play, and they don't have to travel around the province. Their goal now, I would suggest, is to play in the OHL if they want to play in the NCAA or pro hockey, right? That's the pathway, and us being in a great relationship with the OHL is just a benefit to our league and all our teams.
One of the big stories in Stratford this past week, the addition of Noah Bender on the back, 6'4", 178 pounds. Does not hurt getting a big goalie. Jason, can you tell us how that came about a little bit? I tried to get
Sure.
Nick, but he's still refusing.
He's afraid of you less.
He's afraid of people, I think.
Yeah. Well, Noah, we had a couple years ago here, right? We signed him after a big year with Wellesley, and he won a championship there as a young goaltender. And we were really excited to bring him in. And we had about 14 feet worth of goaltending that year. We had Noah signed and Trenton Bennett signed. And Noah went to Oshawa's camp, and he made the hockey club. And so he never did play a game for us. And so we missed on that. But this year, things didn't work out in Flint for him. By default, he came back to Stratford, property-wise, and he started skating with us, and we were able to convince him that Stratford was a real good spot for him to find his feet here again and chase down a championship with us here in Stratford. So, it just worked out after a few skates and speaking with the coaching staff and Noah that this was a good fit for him. We're really excited to add him.
Yeah, I mentioned on the broadcast Friday night, I don't remember the last time Stratford had a goaltending duel that was well over 12 and a half feet.
Here's the thing about Noah too, Les. Like, I had the opportunity to sort of cover him firsthand at that Schmalz Cup. We were sort of part of the coverage team in Woodstock for that Schmalz Cup year. And Wellesley, I think, went into that tournament as, I don't want to say underdogs, but they were certainly looked at as the third or fourth team at that 4-team Schmalz Cup. And so it was sort of like a Memorial Cup style tournament that the PJHL had for the 1 year. And Noah was on the Wellesley Applejacks, and they were underdogs. And then guys like Connor Dorbecker, who ended up playing in our league, playing for Caledonia, they just came together, and Noah was a huge part of that. And I think looking at Stratford, I say to myself, okay, they now have a goaltender with a championship pedigree. And, he knows how to win. Obviously, he's a big body in the net. I think in 2025, having that size and all that stuff in net, I think is a huge bonus. Not to take anything away from Connor Davis at all either. I saw him firsthand for the first time at that Eli Palferman tournament in August. I thought Connor was one of the best players on the ice. He was phenomenal. But when I look at the tandem of these two kids, they're going to push each other, right? And Noah's got that championship experience. Connor is a passionate guy, loves hockey, loves goaltending, and wants to make a difference for Stratford. And I look at the two of them and I say to myself, you know what? That puts Stratford in a great spot when you got two goalies that are sort of competing for the crease a little bit to get that ice time. And Noah's great. He's a good, humble kid. He's been around that championship team with Wellesley. Unfortunately, whatever happened in Flint happened in Flint. But you know what? I'm just happy that a kid like that is back in our league and doing what he loves, and local kid, and I think he's going to be a great addition for the Warriors. I really do.
Yeah, I had a bunch of people say, did you know before you were talking about the goalies last week? And I said, I heard rumblings, but I'm not going to say something that I heard a rumbling about.
Don't break rumors. Don't break rumors, buddy.
Nick Parr's best line this week was he had a chuckle watching the podcast when I was talking about the goaltender, knowing exactly what was coming down the line the next morning. So we were just waiting for that to come out. But I said to somebody, I said, when you get a 6'4" kid knock at your door and say, can I come play with you? It's hard to say no. There is no word for no.
Yeah, you know what? And I think in his first couple of games here too, he's just looks really settled in the net, and really looks like he knows what he's doing, and he's comfortable. And it's a great confidence boost for our guys too, playing with him and seeing his experiences through the OHL. I'm sure there's lots of questions with our young guys too, and guys that have just been drafted and went to their first camp. And so he's going to be a great resource in the dressing room for our guys as well.
Yeah, and it's great. He didn't have much work on Friday night. Friday night's game, 1-0 win. Quickly, I'm just going to show the
opportunities, but still not able to get a puck past goaltender Newton.
Face-off will be the right of Newton. 53.7 seconds to go. Galbraith in to take this one. Back to Murphy. Murphy scores! Grady Murphy. His first GOHL goal. No stick, but a big smile on Murphy's face. What a shot through the legs there. I said to him Friday night after the game, I said I could see the pearly whites from up in the booth. He was smiling. So for a kid like that to get his first goal, Grady Murphy has shown. We talked to him the first night in London. He went on the broadcast. He was a little nervous, but did a great job. And he said he just needs to get in the lineup. He's got himself in the lineup, and he's got himself a home, I think, in the lineup right now. That line with him, Dominic Marshall, and Colin Galbraith has just been outstanding for this club, Jason.
Yeah, they've been great. I've talked to a bunch of people in town here, obviously, about the team and how things are going. And, they're slowly becoming everyone's favorite line, right? They're just so fun to watch. They work so hard. They battle all over the ice. They're in everybody's face. And, they've chipped in here in the first few games here. Dom's got one, and Grady got his first one on Friday night there. So, I think they've all found a really good home. And, if you've watched their team, traditionally that fourth group doesn't see the ice as much as they're seeing right now, right? And so that right there tells me that they've proven a lot to Coach Williams and the rest of the staff that they're trusting them early and they're throwing them over the boards and calling their numbers, and they're doing a great job. So I look for them only to get better and continue to develop as they get used to playing with each other more and more. And it's been a great.
And Darren, the thing I like about 519 Sports, the kid gets his first goal and the highlights right there, right away before the game's even over. The highlights out, and people are texting me, "Oh my gosh, that was awesome!" And I said it was great. And I said to Grady after the game as well, I said, "Remember, you better thank Colin Galbraith because he doesn't win that faceoff like he did right back to you. That's not your goal."
And I will tell you, the people of Tavistock were also happy because Grady had a bit of a run in the PJHL with the Braves, and it's good to see that he had a successful time there in Tavistock with Brent Lang and Zach Berg and those guys, and then obviously got noticed by the Warriors. And that's one thing too, Jay, that I certainly appreciate about the Warriors, that they will look anywhere to find the right players and the right people to be part of the organization. That's something you guys have done really well, that you're looking for obviously talent and good players, but you're also looking for good people. And I want to put Grady Murphy in that conversation as a good player and a good person. And I was super happy Friday night. I forget where I was, but I got home and I just started looking at box scores. The first thought that went through my head is, thank goodness our camera guy did not miss the goal. Because sometimes on those quick face-off goals, you're a little bit slow on the recording. You're like, uh-oh, I wonder if they got it. And if we don't have the 1-0 winning goal, that's probably not the best. But I was also thinking to myself how happy I was for Grady Murphy. The kids worked hard. He's playing on the fourth line, but if that's the kind of contributions that you're going to get from, call it, quote, the lower half of the lineup, Stratford's going to be just fine.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for the comments. And that's a big thing that we really push here is our culture. And we want to bring in good people, right? We have staff in place that'll teach guys how to play in the systems that we run, but it's really about having really good people in our program and developing them as young men for their futures as well. And Grady he's that kid that he's just as happy scoring a goal in the playoffs as he is blocking a shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have that type of player, that leads to winning teams and winning a lot of games. When guys are just happy to fill whatever role they're given, and they're going to work their tail off to do it. So we're really lucky with that whole group that's playing on the fourth line for us right now. And, we call them the fourth line, but arguably they've been our best line a couple nights.
I've told Grady this. I've told Grady this story last year when he came up and he was part of the Black Aces for the team. He got into a game and Dave Williams was sitting there. He says, I'm going to go talk to him about our system because he was an emergency call up, really. Mm-hmm. And me and Phil looked at each other and we just said to Dave, we should just tell him to go out and play hockey because Grady Murphy knows one speed, and that's 100% every time. The X's and the O's, he's not worried about him. He's just worried about making that hit, digging that puck out, cycling that puck. And that line's been doing it great for Stratford this year, and obviously got the winner Friday night. A big goal for Stratford. We were getting beat by their goaltender. Caden Newton was on fire for Hamilton. Fabulous goaltender. And we had some quality shots, and he saved 44 or 45 shots. So you can't really blame Hamilton for that 1-0 loss. They had their chances too, but really Noah wasn't tested that much. I think they ended up with 13 shots on net all night because our defense is so stifling back there.
But aren't those the hardest games though? When
Yeah.
you only face 13 shots and you have to stay laser focused on the game, because at any point it's one bad turnover, it's a breakaway, and it's in your net. So absolute credit to Noah for sure, for getting that shutout, and kind of cool for him too, right? In his first game back in Stratford that he gets that shutout. But I give him the most credit for just staying sharp and just, Hamilton has 13, 14 shots. But at the end of the day, they got some kids that can put the puck in the net too. Quentin Lyle can sure score. So good for Noah to kind of stay focused. And here's the thing too, like sometimes you just need to win those squeaker games. And I bet Dave Williams, knowing the defensive mind that he's like, we won 1-0. Great effort, boys. Way to go. He'd rather win, sure, he'd like to score 7, but to get in the shutout, I think for Dave is something he's always super proud of.
Yeah, these teams with these records, that they're kind of deceiving because they're playing great hockey. They're just not getting the bounces. And I think that's what's really our Friday night opponent, Listowel, is problem with Listowel is they're not getting the bounces. Everybody else seems to be getting the bounces against them.
It's so early too. It is so incredibly early. Do not judge a book by its cover. No. As Jason knows, these rosters for the most part aren't set till like really set where you're happy with what you've got until Christmas, early New Year. And that's not to say that this time of year isn't important, but I don't put a ton of stock in a lot of what I see. There's been a couple of blowout games too, and I look at it and say the team that lost on the wrong end of that, they're better than that. So it's really hard to judge. Obviously, you want to get off to a good start and kind of set the tone and all that stuff. But here's the thing. We're 3 weeks into a really, really long season. And, teams that are on a hot streak, there will be ebbs and there will be flows and peaks and valleys and all that kind of stuff. So, take everything with a grain of salt right now. Listowel is better than they're showing. Jack O'Donnell and Aidan Renault, their 2 co-captains, they're going to figure it out. They're a young team that has brought in a bunch of younger new players. If you think Jesse Cole isn't sitting there analyzing every piece of video, he is.
Yeah.
And he's a teacher, and he's going to figure out the system that works with that group of kids. Does that mean they're going to win or lose Friday night? I don't know. It's junior hockey. Yeah. You guess. But I'll tell you, by the time we get to the new year, Listowel's going to be a tough team to play. That much I know.
Yeah. It seems these 100%. Two teams, they get up for each other no matter where they are in the standings anyways.
I was saying to some guys the other day, it doesn't matter what those records are. We could both be 0-30, and it would be a great game. And, I look at the standings and I see Stratford sitting in 8th place in October in our division. And usually that would not be a really good feeling. But I have a really good feeling with our group. I think we've been playing really well. We just haven't scored some goals. I think we're 2-10 on the power play or something. We've had lots of chances. We just haven't scored. So, if you look at our lineup, I think anybody that knows anything about our league, there's a ton of skill in scoring within our group. We just haven't found the back of the net as many times as we'd like to right now. And sitting in 8th place, it makes us a hunter, and it's a little better to be a hunter than it is to be the hunted. So,
all right, I'm going to
what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to skip on to Saturday night, and I got the first Stratford goal from Saturday night.
Fort Erie sitting at 3-2-1 on the season. Stratford 3-1-1 on the season. A face-off win by Fort Erie. Valancourt shot block sends another one through. That time it was picked up by Stratford, and Hodge will thread it through at center. Little backhand feed across. They score! Colin Slattery buries it on a beautiful play, and just like that, we're tied at 1.
Max Wildfong there with the great pass. And I look at that goal again and again. I've seen it a few times. Drew Hodge is really the one that starts that play, blocking that shot, doesn't get through, and then he makes the good pass to Max Wildfong. Max Wildfong goes down the other way. and a backhand across the crease. I don't know if he saw Slattery coming, because Slattery was back behind Wild Fong out of the zone, Jason, and he caught up to him pretty quick.
Yeah, that group's playing excellent as well right now. Like I said just a couple minutes ago, I couldn't be happier. Obviously, I'd like to see some more wins and some more goals go in, but we're seeing plays like that time and time again with our hockey club, and those pucks just aren't going in for us. So to see those two guys connect on that was great. And but I think we're going to see that as guys like that develop, like Slattery. He's going to build on his year last year. He had a really good year for his rookie season. Max Wildfong looks fantastic in his rookie season. He's got 6 games under his belt. So,
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to continue to watching the group develop, and the offense is coming.
All right, I'll play the second goal now.
Surge here. Meteors trying to hold on to it. 2:45 to go as Slattery has it down in the zone. Slattery in behind the goal. They'll try and work it out front with Max Wildfong. To the point, Kravich. D to D, Curtin. For Kipfer, throws one on goal. It's in behind. They score! It skips in behind Moffat. They throw one on the net. It's a 3-2.
All right, and there's Quinn Kiffer's goal. I've said this on earlier podcasts. Us getting Quinn Kiffer back from North Bay was a blessing. He just seems to be all over the ice again this year.
Yeah, he
Darren,
looks
I'm
great.
sure you noticed that in the highlights. Jason, you've noticed it too.
Yeah, for sure. He looks great, And again, there's no doubt he's wanting to put some more pucks in the net right now, but he's getting a ton of chances, right? And he's rewarded on that goal that we just saw just by putting a puck in the net, right? But Quinn is a player that does so many things so well all over the ice. You hear that term 200-foot player all the time, but come down to the rink and watch him. He's that guy, right? The coaching staff trusts him on every or every situation, penalty killing, power play, obviously 5-on-5 play, winning big face-offs, blocking shots. He does it all. He's a really, really good hockey player, and he's got a long career ahead of him playing hockey.
You know who I've noticed too, and I noticed this at the Eli Palferman tournament in Air, and I just think he's a year older. He's more mature. Clearly, he spent time in the summer working out and putting time into making sure that he was ready. Is Jonas Schmidt. And I think his speed on the ice, his tenacity, the way he goes in, and it's not about the playmaking ability or the scoring. He seems to be involved in every single play when he's on the ice. And again, there's so many names, guys. Slattery and Kipfer and Jonas Schmidt. The offense is absolutely going to come because there's just too much talent there. And it's early in the season. The one thing I will point out about the Fort Erie game too, Les, credit to Hayden Frame. It's not very often that you see.
I have that clip coming up.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to spoil the part.
No, let's play that clip right now.
Hayden Frame v. Ryland Masterson, captain v. captain, Saturday.
Yeah, here it is.
Face-off coming down inside the Meteor zone. Kipfer will step in against Mateer. Ton of ice out there now for the next minute 10. Poirier lost it in his skates, and Vader makes a move. He gets leveled at center. Penalty coming. Warriors don't like that. Here we go. Masterson and Frayne. Captain on captain. Oh, boy. Frayne comes back. Masterson with a right. Frayne gets locked up in there, and Masterson gets loose in a couple more to even it up. Frayne didn't like the hit. What a tilt.
It was he stepped up. I'll say this. You guys don't have to comment on it as much as I will, but I'll say I didn't like I know they called it clipping. I didn't like the knee on knee. It was nice to see Dax get up right away. So he was not injured on the play. But Hayden Frayne coming in, standing up for his teammates. That's the Hayden Frayne, the captain this youngish team needs.
But that's why he's the captain.
Not alone.
That's why he's the captain. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to comment on the hit like you say, but for Hayden to jump in to defend his teammate, that's the stuff that builds the chemistry, right? And we're 10 games into a really long season, a 50-game season, and I think that just sets the tone right off the hop. Hayden Frayne, I am here for every single player on this team, and I think that goes a long way in the dressing room. And I will also point out that that is one of the highest rated 519 sports videos of the entire weekend, was the Stratford Fort Erie game. And I have a hunch that had a bit to do with Frayne and Masterson.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure. And you're bang on, guys. Like, that's a reason he's a guy that's, been here for a long time, and he would have done that when he was 17 years old right now until he's 20, right? He loves his teammates, and he'll do anything for every guy in that dressing room. And, he showed it there on Saturday night. So he's a real special guy to have and to be leading our group. And everybody in the room knows that he will step up and do that. And, as a guy in my role with the hockey club, it makes me proud to see our guys stepping up for one another, because that's, I would suggest all three of us are old guys, and hockey's completely different now, but I think there really is a place in the game where you have to stand up and show up. And, you don't need to fight, but you need to show up for your teammates and the crest that's on the front of your jersey. So, Hayden's the guy that'll do that every night for us. And it's real special to have him as a captain. And if I could say one more thing, Darren, you brought up Jonas. He's a guy that we're noticing every shift, right? He seems like he plays the game on fast forward, so much speed and skill. And he's just going to contribute to our group up front there. And I look forward to seeing him going and catching fire like he was in the Pelferman tournament.
Is he different this year? Maybe I just noticed it in there. I don't know. Maybe it's a commitment to the game or the mental side of it. You tell me. I've probably seen him at the Eli and then maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of the season. There was just something about him that he just looked bigger, faster, and stronger.
He looks all three of those, but I think for me, the most noticeable thing for me is he looks comfortable and he looks like he's having fun. Right. Yeah. He really battled with some injuries that stunted his play through a couple different teams over the last couple years. And I think he's at home and he's having fun, and he's working his tail off and he's comfortable. He's working in the community. I just seen him yesterday. He was no doubt walking down to the rink at 3:30 for a 6 o'clock practice. But I see him and, big wave and, hey, how's it going? And, he just looks happy and looks comfortable. And I think that's really showing in his play. And I look forward to him to leading our group this year as well.
Yeah, I've noticed Jonas this year. He tends to rewatch the flow games of him playing, and he critiques it. He's been critiquing me a lot. He had a shot Friday night that almost took the referee's head off. And I said it went over the net, and Saturday night he corrected me and he said, no, it hit the crossbar and then went over. So I'll give him the crossbar shot and over the net. But,
welcome to broadcasting, Les. Everybody's smarter than you. Remember that.
Well, I had another critique from Saturday night's game. I guess somebody heard our broadcast, and I had called the Masterson hit at the time. I'd call it a goon hit. I never called Masterson a goon. Called it a goon hit. And this guy went off on me and said, he's not a goon. And I said, I never called him a goon. I said, I just did not like the hit. I said, other than that, he's one of the best defensemen in this league. So, we'll leave it at that. All right. To finish up the Warriors highlights, we have the 3 stars of the week. Grady Murphy's going to get the first star for his first GOHL goal Friday night. Jack McGurn's had a great season so far. He put a goal in there last week. Reese Brown fed it across the crease and he dove for it and put it in, but he's just had solid play all weekend or last week. Colin Slattery, another fabulous week for him. Now we're at the end of September, so we got 3 stars of the month. We've been talking about him. Jonas Schmidt there, 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. Luke Menard, 4 goals and 1 assist for 5 points. And Reese Brown has had a solid start to his season. He's got 5 assists, but he's been out there with the big hits. He's been making sure he's digging the pucks out in the corner. He's doing all sorts of stuff that we want Reese Brown to do, and it really shows with his play so far this year. What do you think of those? Nathan?
I like them. I think they're all great picks. A couple comments. Jack McGurn, I think, is having a really good breakout season. Right, he had a real good preseason, and it carried over into the regular season here. And he's a guy that no doubt was very frustrated with his ice time and his play last year. And could have been easy to walk away or ask for a trade or something like that. But, Jack just put his head down, came back to camp, worked really hard. And, he's playing in the top half of our lineup right now. And he's a guy that you notice every shift as well, right? He works hard. He's got that really long stick. He gets in the way. And he's a bugger in front of that net, right? That one goal he scored dived in front of that. Fantastic. Brownie, he just looks like a man out there, right?
Yeah.
He gets bigger and stronger every year and more and more physical, which is another great piece for us. And his line's been real good too. So, like I said earlier, I'm real happy with the group to date. Maybe we'd like a little better result, but it's coming and it's a 50 game grind in the West here. So
yeah,
lots to happen.
Yeah, and like Jason called it last year, it is still the wild, wild west. I call it the beast from the east now because it's getting wild over there too. You got Pelham that's playing outstanding hockey right now that nobody really saw coming, and they're doing it. But the West is just so wild right now. You got London up top, but that I still go back and I say that late season pickup from Chatham of Mr. Botolan in net has been a great guy for them, and they've picked up some other players along the way. Chatham's playing well. Everybody's playing well. Look at the other night. Kamoka took Chatham to overtime and beat them in overtime. I think they scored twice in overtime to beat them, but after they called the one goal back and then they had to score again. But other than that, so it's been a great week so far. Darren, you started out with CTV. That's when I first had my introduction to Darren Stevenson, was watching CTV sports, because you did a job back then where you highlighted the local sports a lot. Mm-hmm. It was the first time we'd see Stratford on the Kitchener Sports and stuff like that. Tell us about your journey to where you are now.
Oh God, there's a loaded question. Where do you want me to start? I was on CKCO, for the older people, like Jay calls it, the old guys in the audience, CKCO TV. Yeah. I was really fortunate to, get a job there in full-time in 2005, and then had a good 12-year run with Randy Steinman and Jamie Killingsworth and a bunch of people in the sports department that, we sort of made it our goal to talk about community sports, whether that was the Stratford Warriors, the Waterloo Siskins, the Laurier Golden Hawks football team, high school sports, really anything in between. And then things changed in March of 2017 when the TV station made a decision that they were going to remove local sports from the broadcast. And that was a decision that was made. And as a result of that, Randy and myself and Jamie, specifically anyways in the sports department, we were essentially laid off. There was an opportunity to stay, but it would not be in a sports role. And I made the decision that I thought there was something else out there for me. At the time, in March of 2017, I had no idea what that was, but I did decide that I had never been a news guy. It wasn't something that really interested me, and that I wanted to go out and see what else was out there. I didn't even know really that I think I was going to start this until probably late September, early October of 2017. The reason being was that I saw that fall, everything kind of started up. And you know what it's like right now, guys. Like, it's full tilt. Whether you're talking about minor hockey, junior hockey, football, high school football, any of that stuff, it's full tilt. And it was like, it was late September, early October. And I thought to myself, man, there's no video coverage of anything in relation to community sports. And that's not a criticism of anybody else. That was the reality of the situation in that time. And I said, man, I wonder if I buy some editing software and I buy a decent camera, if there's a way that I can carry forward what Randy and I tried to build at CTV. But for a pandemic of 2.5 years, which was slow, as you can imagine, here we are. And I love what we do. I hope that it provides a spotlight for the players and the teams. We started at zero. I started an Instagram account at zero, a Twitter account, a Facebook account, a YouTube account. And I don't know exactly where the turning point was necessarily where this quote worked. And I still think there's a million things that I want to do every day, every week to improve it, to make it better, to further showcase, spotlight all those things. Because that was really my goal. Was I thought Randy and myself at CTV did a really good job of promoting community sports. And then when it was gone, it was like, okay, well, who's going to fill that void? And it was sort of a new way at the time to consume your news or your sports news, because we were just on TV. We were on your 16:9 plasma televisions. And I said, it's the same guy and we're doing pretty much the same things. It's just now on your phone or your iPad. And wherever that turning point was, I have no idea. Like, I have great memories from CTV. Like Laurier winning the Vanier Cup in 2005 in Hamilton was just the best. It was just the best. I remember Tyson Baker at the Almond hoisting that cherry cup over his head. And obviously with 519, it was cool a couple of years ago when there's Zach McCann hoisting the cherry cup, over his head again. And the next thing I know, we're in a game 7 against Leamington at the Almond. That's the stuff that I remember. And the big moments are fun. They really are. And I don't know. I just think I've been really blessed and lucky to have a supportive group of people around me that support me and allow this to happen. And that includes Jason Clarke and Nick Parr. And I can go on. Dave O'Donoghue in Elmira was one of the first people that I talked to. Tyler Canals, another guy that comes to mind right away. There's a million people. And I want people to understand that without these people, this doesn't exist. Right. And I'm so thankful for them putting their faith in me and us now to share their stories. And that's a responsibility that I take very seriously. That it is our job to share your stories, whether it's a leadership group, whether it's a Friday night 1-0 win, Grady Murphy game-winning goal. That's the responsibility that we have, and the trust and the faith that people have put in us to do that. And I can never repay that. As long as I live on this earth, I can never repay it, because at the end of the day, without those people, without those teams, without people like Tyler Ertl with Holistic Hockey, absolutely unbelievable. Peter Izio with Izio Financial Solutions. I've probably I could send out 1,000 Christmas cards and legitimately miss 500 people. So anyways, that's maybe the long, not the short of it, but that's sort of the gist of, I don't know where it started, and I don't know where we're going, man. All I know is we got a busy damn weekend ahead this weekend. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you do. And like I get to talk to you, and I get to talk to guys like Dylan and Brandon Bax. Brandon Bax is one of the most knowledgeable hockey guys I think out there that people really don't know. He gets on the broadcast with us, and he could talk for probably the rest of the game if he didn't have to go back and do the camera. He sees so much hockey. He sees so much of everything.
And let me take a second, if I may, to shout out those people as well. Brandon Bax and I worked together at CTV many years ago. He came to work for me a couple of years ago. I can't do this without Brandon Bax. He is my right-hand guy. I love the guy to death. We talk every day, and we talk every day about how we can make it better, how we're going to schedule people, who's going where, what are the important storylines of the week, that kind of stuff. You mentioned Dylan Baker, unbelievable. Spencer Tangay, Josh Mayu, Max Purdon, Caleb Sebastian. I know these are the guys in a lot of respects that are behind the scenes, but I can't do it. It's the same thing as a hockey club, Les and Jay. You can't do it. You might be the face of it or the person that people know, but you can't do it without Quinn Elder and Bo and Cody and all. And I have those people around me that help and support me, because it's not a one-man job. Nothing is a one-man job. I get to go on podcasts and talk about 519 and how it happened and where it came from, but every bit of love to the teams, the presidents, the GMs, and my staff. The people. There's 15 of us. That's where we're at, with more to come, and we've added more teams this fall. I'm so thankful to have, like, the C4 Centenaires came on this year. We're going to start with the Minto 81s, their home openers coming up, the senior hockey stuff. We have more junior hockey teams than we've ever had. And, And the whole point of it all is to do as much as we can and promote these teams and these players through the social media platform. The same thing you're trying to do with the Warriors, Les. You're trying to do your best effort and your best job to promote the Stratford Hockey Club. And full marks to you for the time that you put into this to make sure that this is viewed and this is successful, because people don't understand the research and the time that goes in behind the scenes on your end or my end, or even Clarke, the scouting that you have to do to know what kind of players you want to bring in. That takes time, and time is your most valuable asset. It really is.
Yeah, and I'll just say one thing. Like last year, I had the Armchair Chirpers was a great platform. Me and Jeff and a couple other guys, we had a great platform. We had a great time. This past summer, things just didn't work out, so we were going to move on. And I thought about hanging it up. And then I get a call from Nick Parr, and he says, "Why don't we focus on the Warriors and the GOG?" At the time, the GOJHL.
Don't say the J. Don't say the J, buddy. J's gone.
I know. I fixed it on our opening for the broadcast as well. I took the J out. But Nick Parr said, "Why don't we try this?" And I said, okay, let's give it a go. And the support I get from the hockey club, the backing, everybody says they love listening to the podcast. So like when the players, the unsung heroes, like you said, Bo, Quinn, Cody. So I'm working on an episode. We're going to have the unsung heroes on. We're going to have
love that
former trainers. We're going to have Cody Heeman, Josh Adams, and Ducky's going to come back on just to talk about their role with the clubs and what they're doing now. Because, not only does this league promote players, but we promote other exec people up to different jobs, scouting jobs, and equipment guys. Josh Adams now with the Niagara Ice Dogs and stuff like that. There was 3 of them the other night in Sarnia.
I did the interview actually at the Almond with Reed Danbrook after the Siskins game. He's gone on to the PWHL, the Ottawa team there. So that's the best part about this league, guys. Honestly, is that I really believe that all the people are in it for the right reasons to do good things. And, development, and whether that's equipment guys, whether that's trainers, whether that's me giving videographers opportunities that are younger in order to gain experience and build their resume, from the hockey ops point of view, trying to get kids like Quinn Kipfer, onto the next level. Cam Dago will be super happy that we're doing the Seaforth games. You know that, Jason. He will he will enjoy seeing those highlights.
Bring lots of tape. He'll want to be on.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know, I look at it, guys, and I say to myself that I think as long as everybody's rowing in the same direction and everybody's kind of just helping promote our league, we have a great thing. We really do. And we have good people that are passionate about the league. And you know what? Let's all just work together to keep building it. That's really, and Tim Simmons and I talk about that. You mentioned my quote league job, and there's another guy who I need to shout out too. Tim and Craig have been unbelievably supportive of the spotlight games and everything we've done at the league level, and that just all materialized from being around the league and the hard work we tried to put in to showcase the teams, and now we have this cool thing where we can go to Stratford for an alumni night and put old guys like Shane O'Brien and Rita Oliver at the podium and talk to them on a GOJHL level about their experience in Stratford. And I just think the more stories that we share about our graduates, about our players, I just think it's great. I honestly do.
Just so you know, Darren, you threw the J in there as well. So
we'll
let that one go. Yeah, you did.
I'm getting fined. I'm getting fined.
Yeah,
I have it on tape. So
all you fast checkers,
it's all good.
It was sponsored by NT Power Plumbing and Heating, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Perfect.
See if you can get him to pay your fine.
Couple things for me.
One of these days, I'm going to get him on this show. We might have to start with just the radio broadcast first, where people can't see him, and then build from there.
Well, he can just do a lab avatar and not come on.
Yeah, we'll just put a cartoon character of him up here, and I'll interview that. And that's Nick. Jason, another great job this year with the team. You've been around this team. You've been around this league a long time. I was explaining to somebody that you started out in Listowel with the Enemy. You and Dave were up there in Listowel with the Enemy at the time. And we've known each other a long time, and I've known Dave a long time. And I said, I can remember them coming to Stratford on the opposing team, and we used to chirp them pretty good from across the ice. And
we loved it. It's a good experience to have being on the visitor bench when you transition that into our room and you're talking to our guys, because there's no better place than to come in and win in the full almond on a Friday night, right? The fans are on top of you. Everybody's mouthing you off. They're pouring pop through the cracks in the floor into your dressing room, and all the old tricks. But when you can get a win out of Stratford, when you're the opposing team, it's a great feeling. And opposite to that, Stratford can run teams out of that building real early with the horn and the fans. And if you think back to it, Stratford, no matter who's been the coach or the players on the team, they're always a quick strike team, right? If they score a goal, you really have to be careful they don't score another one on the next shift. Whatever it is about that building and the teams that are built here, we seem to have that ability. So I loved coming in here for Lithgow and beating Stratford, but that table has turned, and I love being part of Stratford and trying to beat everybody when they come to see us on Friday nights.
Yeah, and it's great. Friday night, I noticed that when Hamilton arrived, a bunch of the players came out to the bench and they were just staring up at the old girders and all that, looking around the arena at the banners and all that, because some of these teams have not been in here. Some of these kids have never been in that arena, and there's just a thing about the Almond Arena that sort of it still mesmerizes me every time I go up to the booth. And a little shout out to Adam Higgins they've done a great job up in the press box, cleaning it up. A lot more room up there. There's no glass between me and the general anymore when we do the broadcast, so now the general can hear me when we're going on the broadcast and that. But it's just one of those lucky, arenas, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say we're so lucky because we've been in the rink when there's 2,500 people in there. But even those players in Hamilton coming in and playing in front of 800 or 900 people, just the makeup of the arena and how it's built, that feels like a big crowd on top of you, right? And the crowd is loud and they cheer and boo and each play. And even Dougie Grenistage, I seen him and Aaron Parsons. They had the wave going there Friday night.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's fantastic stuff. And to Darren and your group, just let me say that we can never repay you and what you and your staff have done for this league. The spotlight and the exposure you've given to our players and their development in our league, because we all know how good the league is, right? It's people that don't associate with, don't know, that they think we're maybe a lesser league sometimes until they get here and see the players and or come to our league or are involved. So can't thank you enough for doing everything that you do and continue to do and continue to build and just continue to grow this league, which is fantastic. And Les, you wear, I don't know if you've got a tattoo of the Warriors yet or what, but you live and bleed the Warriors, and we're so thankful for all the exposure you get.
Yeah.
Our guys locally too, because in Stratford, they are kind of stars, right? Like there's people at Tim Hortons talking about the game on Friday night here in Stratford. Mm-hmm. They're talking to the kids, and now both of you guys, what you're doing through the podcast and through YouTube and the 519 Sports, you're turning them into little stars that they get to watch themselves, that they can see the highlights and listen to people talk about them. So it's all great stuff, and I couldn't be happier to be a part of it.
Yeah, so
I'll definitely miss it.
Two things on that point. One, shout out Ty Higgins. You mentioned Adam Higgins, but let's shout out his son, Ty Higgins, Stratford Warrior alumni, doing great things. That's one. And also just that, I don't know, like we've come so far as a league, right? And there's a lot of people that contribute to that. But I think it's important that we just keep pushing and we just keep doing our best and providing the spotlight for all these kids. And the thing that I think is maybe the most cool, if that's the right word, is that when I was on television for 12 years, you had to watch at 6:45 or 11:45. That's when that's when the sports news was on TV. And if you didn't PVR that broadcast, it was gone. Now, what I think the best part is there's almost an archive for that championship team a couple of years ago that can now go back and watch their old highlights, the entire regular season, the playoff run, the Cherry Cup, the Sutherland Cup, all that. I think that's really special because when I was growing up as you guys, if my name was in the paper, like I walked to school on Monday with like my shoulders puffed out because I thought I was, and I was more of a baseball player than a hockey player. That's the thing that I think is really, and it's just 2025. That's where the media landscape has evolved to, that these young men in 10 years, they're going to have little kids and they're going to have father, sons and daughters, and they're going to be able to go back and say, hey, look back in 2022, look what dad did. And I just think there's a real value in that they have that historical archive, because YouTube, Google, all of that will be here long after the three of us are gone. I promise you that. So for them to have that, that's special too. That I just think that, I wish I had little video clips of me, hitting a double into right field at a tournament in 1987. I don't, right? So I think that's one of the things that I really like the most about 519 is being able to kind of celebrate local community sports, obviously, but also just creating that archive on YouTube and social media that it's just going to live there, forever. And I think that's really neat to me. I really like that side of it. And that's not to take anything away from the TV station, but it was on the air, it was off the air, it was done. And that's kind of the difference, right?
Yeah. Last year, Darren, you helped our broadcast immensely. You might not know it, but you did.
Okay.
We were having problems with Flow at the time. We couldn't get the voice onto the Flow broadcast properly. It was scratchy. It was everything. And then I get a video from Darren Stevenson. He had gone to Flow and done a video on how it should be connected. And he picks up this box and he says, and then you have this box that you plug into the back of it, goes to the codex box. And I'm like, what the heck is that box? We don't have that box. Found out what it is, plugged it in. Our broadcasts are 100% better. We get the better voice. Everything works. All thanks to Darren Stevenson.
I cannot take credit for that. The guy at Flow Hockey, you guys maybe don't know this. I'm actually not the biggest tech guy in the planet. I can get by.
Brandon Bax told me that.
Yeah, I bet he did. Yeah, he's getting a fine on his next paycheck too, I promise.
When's he going to be in Stratford next? I haven't seen Brandon Bax yet this year. I need my Brandon Bax fix.
We are busy.
I know you are.
We are busy. Things will settle down in a month, and we'll get into the flow of the hockey season. Don't worry, you will get your Brandon fix. Don't worry, Dylan will be around.
I know.
Yeah,
Dylan and I text back and forth.
The whole 519 crew.
Because it's funny, I'll be standing there talking to Brandon Bax and we'll want to know something, and Brandon says, "Well, let's just message Dylan because he's probably got a spreadsheet on what it is." Yeah. When it coming down to the playoffs last year, we were messaging Dylan, okay, what does Stratford have to do to finish here? What do they have? And we were just giving him questions. He goes, and because Brandon says Dylan has a spreadsheet. So, Dylan had all the answers, everything we needed.
So that I mean, gentlemen, my guys have all the answers. I just get to do podcasts. That's how this goes.
It works out. I was talking to, I think when Dylan was on here after the broadcast, we were talking. He says, you got to get Darren on. I said, I'm trying to get Darren on because we might have hurt his feelings last year when we didn't have him on the broadcast, but we had Brandon and Dylan up there. And one broadcast, something about Darren not getting a hot dog because I kept Dylan a little too long. And Dylan said, it's okay. He'll live. All right, gentlemen. I want to thank you for this. This has been a fabulous evening. Some more great hockey coming up this year. Great battles this weekend. Listowel. Then we go back to Chatham. I'm sure that Chatham game will be a highlight game of the year for these kids going in there. Jason, you said something last year, and we're talking about the standings. Everybody says it's early. It's early. You said something last year that really resonates with me. You got to play all 12 teams to know where you're at.
Yeah, very true. I think you really got to get through the league at least once to see what everybody has and see how you stacked up. Kind of what Darren's point earlier tonight, talking about, teams are still trying to figure things out and rosters are going to change, etc. So, but you will get a really good feel of everybody once you've traveled around the league. So,
Mm-hmm.
that takes a bit of time. It takes you probably to the end of October or early November. I mean, we don't see St. Mary's until after Christmas, I don't think. So we're not going to see them, but I think we know what they have. But yeah, and you know what? I think teams are really set up well. If you can get to Christmas at around 10 losses or less, you're really setting yourself up well for, the January 10th deadline and then the push to get yourself ready for March. So those are kind of the two tests I have in my mind with running a hockey team is that, we got to get through everybody before we're really going to make a decision. And then also, you want to limit the losses as much as you can.
Yeah, the January 10th deadline, we talked about it last year, and it was kind of funny because it was such a wild deadline last year. This year promises to be the same thing. I don't know. Should we have a deadline show maybe? A live GOHL deadline show.
Yeah.
I'd have to get some more inside information from Nick, but that would come far in between. All right, guys. Thank you for doing this. And we'll see you at the rink.
For sure. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you guys. Look forward to being around the Warriors like always. Let's have another great season and enjoy what we do. That's the most important thing. Appreciate you having me on. That's good to see you guys. Thanks, Jay.
All right. Thank you, sir.